Don't you love it when I pretend like I'm reading and then I do oh, hey, I didn't see you there. So glad that you came over. I probably do that a little bit more than I should, but it's fun. My daughter always says, "Why do you do that? It's so stupid." That's why I do it. It's stupid. Welcome to My Partridge Family Collection. I'm your host, Patty. I'm so glad that you're back with us. And on this episode, I'm excited to share one of my favorite collections within my collection, and that is the Partridge Family novel series that was published by Curtis Books from 1970 to 1973. There are 17 of these mystery novels, and I have all of them, and I'm going to share them with you. We're going to talk a little bit about the authors. There were quite a few different authors on these books, and talk about one of my favorite books, and or installments, I guess. And I don't know. I just really like this collection. A lot of these books I've had since I was a kid, and I was smart enough, or somebody in my family was smart enough to put these in a like a Tupperware, like a plastic tub instead of a brown paper bag. Some of them do have water damage. I don't know how, because they've been in the same plastic tub since 1973. But it's just fun to go through and look at these. I don't know about you, but I have so many great memories of, first of all, getting these books. If you're not of that generation, in the old days, we were at school, and a lot of times they would have these like scholastic sheets. They were kind of like sushi menus for books, and you would get to choose what book you wanted to read, and you of course have to pay for it. They were like, I think they went anywhere from 50 cents to $1.75. And so I'd go through the menu really quick. It was like 2 pages of just books, and they were all like little novels like this. And these Partridge Family books, they range from pages 120 to like 154 pages. I think that's the largest of the novels in the series. But I would go through them all, tick off all, and then I'd have to go back and eliminate some, because obviously I couldn't get all the books. And I wasn't a huge reader, but there were some genres that I really was drawn to. I liked mysteries. I really liked stowaway books for some reason. Anything that happened on the high seas that included a kid stowing away, I don't know why. I just love those type of books. And obviously the other books were the Partridge Family novels when they came out. I just loved them. When I would go through and do my elimination, okay, I could only get 2 books, and I've marked down, 12, I have to eliminate. The Partridge Family was always one of the last ones standing, because I would always go with the Partridge Family, and of course a stowaway book or a baseball. I always like to read biographies of baseball players too, for some reason. I was a strange kid. But yeah, these held my attention. They were mystery. They were based on the Partridge Family. Some are, like I said, some are better than others, and some still, I think, are still a very good read. So they're very easy. Like there's some books, like I said, like 120 pages, you can knock that out in a day or a couple hours. And I've done that over the years, gone back and reread a few of my favorites. They're kind of juvenile, they were for kids. But as I got older and went back and reread some of these, I realized that there are some authors that are not as kid friendly, and we'll go through that a little bit. So we'll talk about the authors, we'll talk about the publishing company, and of course some of these books in my collection. We'll look through all 1 through 17, and I'll just tell you, the rare ones, if you're looking to collect these books, they're fairly easy to pick up. Like this one is fairly easy. I see this one a lot. This one's out a lot. Number 3. Even the first book is they have I'll show it to you when we get to it. Here it is. That's pretty common. You can probably find this at a lot of vintage book sellers and eBay and things like that. But the 2 really hard books to come across are number 16 and number 17. Almost impossible, but I have them, and I'm going to show them to you, and we're going to talk a little bit about them as well. And then also at the end of the episode, I have another retro review, and it's a good one. and I think you're really going to like it. So stay tuned for that. So let's go to the overhead. Look at these books. I think you're going to really, really love these books. And you know, I was pretending to read these books because if I was really reading them, I would use my grandma mirror because the fonts are so small. Like, did I really read these? Look at how tiny. It's like a 9-point font. Yeah, so I would take out my grandma magnifying glass and have to read these now. This one's cool. It's got a light on it. Yay, Amazon. All right, guys, let's go to the overhead and we'll look at these very cool books. I think you're going to love it. Well, that's kind of a cool collection, right? I've got 1 through 17, some doubles here. And so let's take a look at them. Or let's put this here. Should we do it like this? Scary. Scary like the books. They were all mystery based. They were all taking the Partridge Family out of San Pueblo for the most part. I think there's one where they are at home, but they're on the road and they're just experiencing all these very strange, creepy mysteries that come up, and they're at the center of it. There's always some, weird offbeat type of characters that they introduce, and just I think very well done for these type of books. You know, in the 70s, like for some reason they had this big genre of movie and TV tie-in novels. And like I said, you know, they're very short. They're a good read. Let me make sure that, yeah, I get this here. This tower might be too big. Let me split them up here. So we'll look at book 1, written by Michael Avalone. He was an interesting author. Got a little bookmark here. Some of these books I haven't even looked at in a while, and we'll see some of them actually have writing in them. But he was an interesting author. He's not one of my favorite, and a lot of Michael Avalone's background comes from pulp fiction style books. So in the books that he writes, that's very detailed, almost above the head of the reader, I think. I know that was for me, it was just a lot of skipping through things. And he, being a pulp fiction style writer as he was, he tended to go overboard with describing Shirley and Laurie's physiques. And, this is a different time, right? Almost, I don't want to say misogynist, but kind of landing in that area because he was a pulp fiction writer in the 60s and probably 50s and 60s. He had like over 1,000 works attributed to him over the years. That include novels and short stories and magazine articles. So he was a very prolific writer. I don't think he had a handle on the real characters though. And I think that especially under the name Michael Avalone, which we'll talk about, that's his real name. So he wrote 8 books in this series, 4 under his own name and 4 under a pseudonym, which we'll come across here pretty soon. Book 2, I have 2 of these. I think one is my original and one I probably picked up at a vintage bookstore. This one's in really good condition. Is this Any Way to Haunt a House? You bet it is. Second book, written by Michael Avalone again, and really focused on Laurie and the character of Laurie and her involvement with a group of nefarious, gang members. I don't know if they were gang members, but it's an okay read. Not one of my favorite. Like I said, I didn't realize that I had favorite authors until later in life. Like I knew some of the books that I liked and some of the ones that I didn't. And so, but going back, I realized that, all my least favorite books were from Michael Avalone. Interesting. So we got this. Yeah. I mean, this has got like a little cup ring around it. You can kind of see that. And these books, if you were to go onto eBay or something and find, the Partridge Family #2 Haunted Hall, would probably cost about $20, $20, $30. Like these are fairly affordable. Originally went for 60 cents. So a bit of a price hike, but fun to read. Number 3, again, written by Michael Avalone. This is a popular book. You can find this. I always see this on eBay, this book. I don't really remember much about it, honestly. I know that Keith plays baseball in this book. Again, we all know Keith was a basketball player. I don't think Michael Avalone really took the time to get to know the characters, or maybe he just wanted to put his own Pulp Fiction spin on things. Number 4. So this was written by Paul W. Fairman. He wrote a couple books. I think he wrote 2 books, and they're fairly good. And Paul Fairman, he was a pretty versatile writer and editor. He's known for his contributions across multiple genres, including the science fiction, mystery, television tie-ins like he did with this. He wrote under various pseudonyms as well. But yeah, he wrote The Ghost of Graveyard Hill, and then also he wrote number 8, which we'll see in a minute, the Treasure of a Ghost Mountain. So likes the ghosts, but in good shape, right? Very cool. Terror by Night. This is my favorite. This is my favorite book. Spoiler alert. Vic Kroom. And the thing that I noticed going back and just looking at my favorite books, I like the Vic Kroom books. And I think it's because he knew how to write for kids. He authored several other notable stories, including the novelizations of some popular Disney films such as The Parent Trap, The Shaggy Dog, Mystery in Dracula's Castle. So his writing often targeted younger audiences, and he knew how to blend that humor, adventure, and suspense and gear it towards kids. And you can really see it, especially in this book. This is a really good story. Again, it takes the Partridge family out of their dwellings at home and brings them across country to Massachusetts, where there's a lot of underlying Salem witch stuff, which I was totally into too as a kid. And the thing I like about it too is, like, he really knew, he must have done a lot of research on the Partridge family, because when they're talking to each other, and he found their voices really well. Like, they really sound like the characters. And the only thing he did do, I know in this book, I don't remember if he did in other books, Simone he made into a poodle. So and I mean, there's just a lot going on in this book. Like, Simone disappears. They have a hangman's dummy swinging from a tree outside of this beach house that they rented. And then there's this mother-daughter who the small town that they're in, that they've ostracized and called them witches. And Keith and Lori come to their defense, and we find out they're actually very nice people, and they help the Partridges solve this crime. And so it's very cool. I really like this book. I've gone back and read it a few times. It's one of the good ones, and plus it's very short. I think it's 124 pages, so it's an easy read. I recommend it. This is, again, one of my favorite, and I think this one has actually come apart. Yeah, I have to, maybe I can glue that or something, because I've read it so many times. Good memories. And of course, these pictures too. A lot of these pictures just come from our random photographs. They have nothing to do with the book, but it's always nice. I mean, when I saw this book, and I didn't even care what it was about and care, who the author was. But you see David Cassidy on the cover in his groovy shirt and jeans. Like, why wouldn't you spend 60 cents, put it in that envelope, and bring it to school? Say, yes, this is the book I want to read at free time in my reading class. Now, this book was by Vance Stanton, who, much in the way of these mystery novels, is actually Michael Avalone. So he actually had a pseudonym. And like I said, he wrote 4 books under his own name, and then he wrote 4 books in this series under a pseudonym, Vance Stanton. And I guess authors do that because it frees them up to do different things and write in a different style. And he definitely did this. Vance Stanton is a little bit better than Michael Avalone, even though it's the same writer. He's more casual in his writing. He's not so intense and Pulp Fiction-y. He's more, just kind of laid back, I guess, and funny. But again, not really one of my favorites, and not one of the books that really stand out as really capturing the voice of these characters. Not really good at that. But this is a good mystery. Number 6. Number 7, The Walking Fingers, another one by Vance Stanton. Keith and sidekick in big trouble with 2 deadly characters and a ghostly gold mine. Yeah, I love when there's writing in these books. Some of these books that I got from just vintage booksellers and old used bookstores and things like that. I have 2, which means that probably this is my original, because it seems like it's a little worn out and the edges is all faded here. The Partridge Family, number 8, The Treasure of Ghost Mountain. This is the other Paul W. Fairman. He's got that ghost theme. Continuing that mystery kind of genre. And the family, as I recall it, the family went on a quest involving hidden treasure, a bunch of clues. It's just a lot of adventure, and of course they sing. They sing in all these books. You know, they're always having a concert or they're traveling because they're on the road. Evil plans. Very cool. The Fat and Skinny Murder Mystery. Another one by Vance Stanton, aka Michael Avalone. You know, Curtis Publishing, they published these books. They were around for a long time. They started in the late 1800s, like 1891. And they were most notably the publisher of iconic magazines like the Saturday Evening Post, Ladies' Home Journal, magazines like that. And then they expanded into paperback publishing in the 60s and 70s. And they did a variety of titles, including these television tie-in novels. And then, of course, we saw in the early 70s, they jumped on the Partridge Family bandwagon. And they released these series of novels. Marked for Terror, another great Vic Kroom book. This is another popular book on eBay. If you go on eBay and you search Partridge Family books, this one is usually the one that comes up. But this is a good book. Partridges have this mysterious neighbor or neighbors who move into their neighborhood. This is, I think, one of the only books that take place in their hometown and they're not actually on the road. But again, it brings the Partridges in contact with very strange people, very mysterious people who they want to know more about. What's going on? What's going on in that mansion in San Pueblo down the street? Very cool. A lot of intrigue and suspense and brought into their suburban life. Double Trouble. Yeah, Vic Kroom. I guess it makes sense. He was wrote a lot of books for kids, and so I think that he was able to translate these pretty well. This has got a little water damage, I think. So I'm thinking this was my original. Yeah. Not worth a penny, except by us Partridge Family fans, of course. Who's That Laughing in the Grave? The Fiendish Peril for Rock's First Family. Vance Stanton. Again, Michael Avalone. His pen name. Hey, I got this at Vintage Bookshop. Ye Old Vintage Bookshop. Seeing something here. Oh, a dog ear. Did I stop reading? Possibly. Not a big fan of the Vance Stanton, Michael Avalone for some reason. But great to see the front and backs, huh? I guess I should be showing you the front and backs on these. So number 12, this is the first book we see from Lee Hayes. Another one of those authors who just did a lot of these novelizations for TV. I think he did Columbo. He did a couple other, like 70s TV shows. Yeah, this is not a bad book. I think if I recall, the Partridge Family become like entangled in a mystery involving a haunted concert venue, much like Phantom of the Opera, right? Phantom of the Rock concert. So you can kind of get the idea. Again, not one of my favorite, but I don't really remember too much about Lee Hayes. It's a good book. I mean, good by quality standards, I guess. I'm not sure about the contents. I don't really recall this, but I do recall the haunted rock venue. Creepy. All right, so number 13 is The Mystery of the Mad Millionairess, written by Edward Fenton. Now, Edward Fenton only wrote one book in the series, and I don't know too much about him. Actually, I don't know anything about him. I guess I could have done some research, but this kid who had this book before me was very into chapters. He said 19 chapters, and then on each chapter, he actually writes the number. So he said chapter 2. It's like that throughout the whole book. It's very odd. Chapter 3. He just liked the chapters. I don't know. David, if you're out there, let me know what the deal is with the chapters. The Mystery of the Mad Millionaires. Don't know much about it, to be honest with you. I don't remember it. I guess I'm going to have to go back and reread it. It's only 142 pages. I think I can do that. Oh, I've got 2. I must have read it at some point. Oh, yeah. This was Teresa's book, Teresa Burns. And she was really into this guy named Paul. And Forever a True Love. She wrote this on the front cover, and everything else is like pristine, like there's no writing in the book, except the back cover. She's got it again. Forever. I hope they're still together. Another one of my favorite books, number 14, 13 at Killer Gorge. Another one by Vic Kroom. And the other thing about Vic Kroom's books too is they're so easy to read. Like you just blow through them and you're like, oh dang, it's almost over. He just had a really good knack for, like I said, finding those voices from the Partridge Family, and also creating these stories that were real easy to follow. And this, of course, again, brings the Partridge Family into kind of a perilous setting, and they combine elements of danger and adventure, and they're in this kind of treacherous environment in the Killer Gorge. I've gone through some gorges before. They're pretty scary. So, yeah, this is very good. Nice condition. All right, we're getting down to the last 3, and these are probably the more rare ones that you'll find. I think 15 is still pretty attainable if you're out looking for these books. I think that this is a good book probably to get, and it's somewhat rare, but I think you could still kind of find it. The Disappearing Professor, A Lesson in Terror for Rock's First Family, Lee Hayes. Yeah, like I said, so Lee Hayes wrote 3 books, and the last, kind of towards the end there. Block That Kill. When the Partridge Family went to college to give a concert, they were hit from all sides by high-charged adventure. Makes you want to read it, right? So great. The Disappearing Professor. Yeah, and they're all in it, right? They're investigating the vanishing of this professor, and it leads them to a series of unexpected twists and turns. And look at David, looking very soulful. Besides Terror by Night by Vic Kroom, this Lee Hayes book is my second favorite, The Stolen Necklace. Why? Because just look. Rock's First Family sails into mystery and danger at sea. How good is that? The Stolen Necklace. Set aboard a luxurious Caribbean cruise that they were performing on. And then their journey turns into a thrilling adventure when a valuable necklace goes missing. Kind of sounds like a episode, doesn't it? But not quite. I think it's a better story. And obviously there's more unexpected twists and turns as they discover who stole this necklace, what happened to it. I can tell you it wasn't a stowaway. Or was it? Bad trip. A voyage aboard a super luxury Caribbean cruise liner seemed a groovy way to mix business with pleasure for the Partridges. When they weren't entertaining the thrilled passengers with their great sounds, all the fun-loving Partridge crew were free to entertain themselves. There was golden sunlight, silvery moonlight, glowing romance, until the theft of a fabulous necklace turned a beautiful trip into a bummer. I'm telling you, like Lee Hayes and Vic Kroom, they got the language, they got the slang, and they used it right. I think Michael Avalone probably had a little bit of trouble with that. I'm thinking. I don't want to dive too deep. You know, it is, sometimes you got to just take it for what it is, right? And then the last book, and this is really a tough book to come by. The last time I saw this at auction was probably a little over $200. This probably isn't worth that much because you can see there's a lot of damage and it's somewhat warped. I don't know if you could see that. The back is kind of trashed, but still a fun book to have. It's a Michael Avalone. Of course, I figured he started the series. I guess they gave him the last book. Keith finds that romance can be dangerous. Number 17. Very rare book. No picture on the back. Interesting choice for the last one. That was, of course, published in 1973. I don't want to disparage Michael Avalone that much. It was just like my 8, 9, 10-year-old self was not... I don't remember like reading all of his books straight through. I don't think this book would be worth much anyway, looking at the cut of it. Because look at how high it's cut. There's all this space at the bottom. So not a good, I don't think it's a good issue. If you were looking to sell it, if I was looking to sell it, probably be better just to keep it in my collection where it belongs. So there you have it. We'll go backwards. I'm going to check to see. Yeah. 16, I got the back here. Double. Spooked. Double trouble. Oh, it's not a good one. There's a better one. It's fun to see the partridges outside of their hometown. Most of these. Oh, you got Danny showing there. And I kind of wish they would have done this like on the cartoon. But that's another complaint I guess I don't need to make. It's fun just, oh, there you go. Number 6 did not have a picture on the back. Okay. 5, my favorite. Oh, 5 didn't either. Oh, the black cover. Black back cover. Sometimes they had a picture and sometimes they didn't. Haunted Hall. Is this any way to haunt a house? And then, of course, number 1. There's Simone. She's not a poodle. Great stuff. How fun is it to look at all these books? I mean, do these bring back a lot of memories for you? They do for me. I mean, I just look at them and I go back in time. Yeah, I mean, they were so great, and they were great for me too as a non-reader, because there wasn't a lot holding my attention unless they were like stowaway books, like I said. But to have the Partridge Family really got me into reading, and from there I read a lot of mysteries since then. I just don't read Partridge Family books. But I do remember like moving on to like Carrie and some of those mystery styles as I got older. And I think that this was probably like a springboard to that. So kudos, Michael Avalone and gang, Vic Kroom. So many great memories, and just great to have this in my collection. So great to share it with you. I mean, I've had a few people since I started this show over the years say, "Do you have the books? Show us the books if you have the books." I'm like, I have them. Just waiting for the right time. Who's that laughing in the grave? Like, that was scary, right? Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed that, and I thought we should do a retro review. Since we're talking about books, I think we should do a retro review on, of course, a movie. Why not? Enough with books. How about movies? I get a lot of people like ask me questions on social media, and I have a friend on TikTok who said, "Hey, did you know that First Love has just come out on DVD and Blu-ray?" And I was like, "What? No, I did not know that." Now you could stream this movie, I think anywhere, just it's on demand. But to have it on DVD and Blu-ray is just amazing. So this movie, if you're not aware of it, was Susan Dey's first feature film, top billing. I think she did like a couple feature films after The Partridge Family. This actually was filmed in 1977. And so it's actually the first top billing for both William Katt and Susan Dey. Speaking of Stephen King, William Katt had just finished doing Carrie the year before. So first, then that catapulted his career, right? I mean, that made him, he did this movie with Susan Dey, top billing, first time for both of them to have that top billing feature film. And I don't really want to review the film as much as I want to review the DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray does have the same features because the DVD has audio commentary by William Katt and another an author who's actually interviewing him throughout the movie, and it's worth it for that. But William Katt's character is a freshman. He's kind of naive. He's not really your typical frat boy college guy. He's not interested in getting girls into bed. He wants to fall in love, and so he sees Susan Dey's character and he instantly falls in love with her. And she plays more of a more sophisticated. It almost feels like she's a upper class, maybe a senior, and she's had a little bit more experience. The problem is Susan Dey's character is also in love with an older man who was friends of her father. Her father committed suicide years ago when she was little. And so it's kind of like that weird undertone, like is she dating a father figure? And it's like it's very deep if you go really deep into the storytelling. It was directed by Joan Darling, who did she directed a lot of TV shows, and in the 70s that was unheard of, to have a female director. Now there's also some nude scenes in this film, and Susan Dey it's her first nude scene, as well as a very young Beverly D'Angelo. And also young John Hurt is in this film too. Susan Dey really wasn't keen on nude scenes, but I'm kind of thinking that if she was going to do one, it would probably be with a female director at the helm, right? That would be something that, okay, if she's going to do a nude scene, she'd have a female director. And so that's what this, but it's very tame by today's standards. I'm sure back in 1977, it was like, oh my God, it's like almost borderline X-rated. They did get an R rating, and I would say by today's films that we see, it's very tame. Susan Dey looking stunning, and just has some great dramatic scenes in this film. I heard that Joan Darling, the director, wasn't happy with the final cut. She wrapped up the film. She went away on vacation. She went out of state or out of the country. She came back, and they had cut the film, and it was in the can. She was very unhappy about that. And they cut out a lot of scenes. She wasn't happy about it. So that's why I'm not really going to critique the film, because if the director doesn't like it, But I think that if you're a Susan Dey fan, you're a fan of the 70s genre, you'll really enjoy this. The cinematography, like I said, is really good. The lighting, some of the scenes that, they're just very beautifully lit, and it's fun. It's nice to see Susan Dey kind of spread her wings a little bit, and get her real acting chops in, because she does have some great dramatic scenes.
What the hell are you doing, Caroline? I mean, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with my life?
I don't want to do anything with your life, and I just want to live mine.
You're acting like I'm a stranger. I'm not a stranger.
I just don't want to have a scene with you.
You already have a scene with me.
It's over, Elgin. It's over. I've been very honest with you.
You just can't do this to people. I love you. I'm good for you. I know I am.
I think you're very sweet.
I'm not sweet. Jesus Christ, Caroline, you can't do this to us. You just can't.
Please, I'm drained. I'm sorry. I'm really very sorry. I can't stand hurting you.
Now, the audio commentary is interesting because, like I said, it's William Katt talking to an author. I kind of wish they would have sat back and watched the film, but what you'll find is it's basically this author, or movie critic or whatever he is, interviewing William Katt about his career and about the people he's worked with. And so there are scenes happening and you're like, gosh, I wish they would be talking about this scene. Like, what's going on in the scene?
But here we have the introduction to Susan Dey, looking beautiful as ever.
Lovely, lovely.
So this would have been a big deal for her after, Partridge Family, during Partridge Family, because it's a pretty demanding role for her first film role.
Food wasn't bad. Wasn't great.
What was her perception of the film, from your memory?
I don't know. I think there was she was a little apprehensive about doing it. This was there was some nudity in the film, tame by today's standards, but at the time it was a little bit provocative, and it was a lot of nudity, and we spent a lot of time in bed together, and I think she was a little nervous about all that. I know I was. But we had a fun time. We got along very well together, and we would hang out in her trailer and talk a lot in between scenes, and talk about what we wanted to achieve together when we were working together. And so it was nice,
And a part of me feels like that that movie critic did that because when he did ask William Katt about certain scenes, he just didn't recall. He's like, I don't remember, He's like, oh, I don't recall. There was a lot of moments like that where he does ask him about a scene taking place, and Billy Katt just doesn't get it. Now, William Katt does say in the audio commentary that he was approached 3 times to do this movie, and he refused all 3 times. And then they came back to him, and they offered him a sizable amount of money. He's a very generous amount of money. And then they also told him they had hired Susan Dey to be in the film. And that kind of made him, okay, now accept the role, because he said he loved watching Susan Dey in the Partridge Family. He says it in the commentary. He thought that she was just beautiful and lovely. And then when he met her, he really enjoyed working with her. They worked scenes together all the time, and he spent a lot of time with her. And he said she was just lovely and really great to work with. So those are all great comments from William Katt.
Can I get you some hot water?
That'd be terrific.
All right. Here we are.
Now rest for the weary.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
It's very hot.
I think that he probably didn't remember this movie too much because it was sandwiched between Carrie, which was his big breakout role, and then he did Big Wednesday right after. And that involved surfing, and he was a big surfer. So that kind of has a cult following. So I think First Love kind of got lost, and I don't even think he'd seen it since, for almost 50 years before the audio commentary. But it's always fun to listen to audio commentary and hear the actors say, oh, I forgot that scene, oh yeah, I remember this scene, so that's kind of cool. I like to hear things like that, but I just wish there was a little bit more in depth on on certain scenes. Like I said, if you're a Susan Dey fan, you love the genre, you'll love this on DVD and on Blu-ray. First Love, and it was great to go back and revisit this film. But it's a good film. I would recommend it, and I think I'm going to give it a 4 partridges. I give it 4 partridges, not because of the storyline, but just because Susan Dey, 1977, William Katt, a young John Hurt, a young Beverly D'Angelo, the styles, the hairstyles, the clothes, the slang. It's so typically wonderfully 70s. So I think you'll enjoy it. 4 partridges. Why not? Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, right? So many great books in this series, right? Got them all. Loved it. Love these books. And I hope that it brings back a lot of memories for you. I know they do for me as well. And of course, the Gotta check this out. You can stream it on demand, but get the DVD just for the audio commentary. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and like I always say, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to be notified when the next episode drops. Tell your friends and family about My Partridge Family Collection. That way more Partridge fans can find the show. And thank you so much for viewing, for commenting. I really appreciate it, for subscribing. Really appreciate you guys. And in the spirit of the early 70s, wishing you all peace, love, and happiness. We'll see y'all next time.